Hi, I'd like to welcome everyone to my opinion piece for September 14th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting. This is a little bit late, but better late than never. I had to do some research before I did my opinion this time. So there weren't a lot of things going on at this meeting, but there were one extremely important issue and then one secondary important issue that I want to bring to your attention. The board, as usual, in its nearsightedness, are doing things that simply do not make sense. For example, the major topic of this meeting was refinancing, and the way they went about telling us this, as you'll see in the video of the meeting, that someone came to them and suggested that they look at refinancing. So we're not told who that someone is. We're not told why they felt that we should be refinancing these particular bonds. These bonds are 2015A bonds. And They were issued in 2015. They were issued to refinance the Renting Country Club debt. I mean, this is the third or fourth time now we're going to refinance this debt. The interest rates on these bonds are 0.55 to like 3.5%. I don't think we're going to get better interest rates. The school district just refinanced their bonds and they allowed up to over, I think, 5% or more on their bonds. So I think their excuse here is that they expect to have a large balloon payment sometime in the future. And if that's the case, we should have had a sinking fund putting money away to meet that obligation. But these guys are not financial geniuses. Spet is a chemist, and you watch him in the meetings, he's not even there half the time. Casadis is an expediter. Gaultier is a principal. Michelle is an administrative type of person. And the only one that has any experience with mortgages is Mr. Staub, but that's with home mortgages. He's not a bond expert. And I think it's a mistake refinancing these bonds. But if you're interested in seeing how we're being taken taken for all of our monies, just watch and see that they'll refinance this and we'll probably have a higher interest rate, which makes absolutely no sense to me. I've worked in treasury and large corporations. I know how to deal with these things. I've taken the time to evaluate it. And from the information that I've been able to glean from the 2018 audited financial statements, because that's the place where the 2015A bonds have information. The initial bonds were issued at a little bit over $9.7 million. And again, I said 0.55 to like 3.5 or so interest rate. So it's still a very good interest rate. Simply doesn't make any sense. So we paid off five years of this and they want to refinance. And I wouldn't be surprised if they refinance for more money than what they need to. I think this is an attempt to put more money in the bank so that they have more money to waste, to spend on their contractors that are going to do the work on the promenade. This is all an effort to shift taxpayer money from our pockets to their friends' pockets. And remember, we sold a sewer plant that kept our sewer rates low. It wasn't necessary to sell it. They provided this false narrative to the public. So we basically sold our sewer plant that actually provided a benefit to every resident here. Over 10,000 homes. And we're going to we got rid of that benefit, and what are they going to do? They're going to spend all this money to build buildings to house our government, which doesn't really give us that much. We have a perfectly good situation right now. My plan is to turn the current buildings over to the police department. With cheap leasing space, we can lease space and move administration and engineering to another site. We've got 5 years to develop our plans for a new fire station, and that's what we should be doing. But we're going to end up spending, if not close to, over $40 million to develop that promenade by the time these bozos are through doing it. They've already handed out the architectural part to KCBA, which is affiliated with John Granger and also with Simone Collins. And they've been sucking our taxpayer money out for years now. But if you don't wake up, folks, you're going to be complaining about all of this, just like you now are complaining about the sewer rates. I'm trying to give you a heads up. I'm no longer getting so excited about it like I used to, because I see that the community simply isn't standing up for its own rights. You've given these 5 people the responsibility to do the proper things for our community, but that's not what's happening. They have their own agenda. And behind the scenes, they're working in efforts to put money in other people's pockets. Somehow, I think it's coming around to benefit them. We know that a former supervisor hasn't paid some of her taxes in the 10 years or so that she's lived in the community. We know a former supervisor who got part of his yard paved by PennDOT for free. You know, all these little things that are being done for these supervisors, and they get away with it. And the Pennsylvania state government is designed that way. I've done all kinds of things to try to expose them, and it's like no one cares. So if you don't care, we're going to be taken for a lot of money, and I guarantee you that your taxes are going to go up. So watch the refinancing situation. I say it's not necessary to do it. It's premature, and our interest rates on these bonds are just fine. And if we do have a balloon payment, we have the money. We can create a sinking fund very simply, and when it's time to pay off the balloon, the money will be there. The other thing I'd like to talk about, not real important, but it's just an indication of how sad our government is. I pointed out in the last meeting that the golf report, where they're telling us the golf course is making all this money, is simply untrue. They continue to evade and ignore other expenses related to the Reading Country Club. And they completely ignored the main building, not even preparing it for when we can eventually have food and beverages in there. So they're not doing their job, and yet they want to go take on other projects. We've got a country club that is in disrepair. They claim that the sewer plant was in disrepair. And so if you look at our parks, we got tennis courts where weeds are growing out of the tennis courts. They're not being maintained. And now they want to build more stuff because it's fun to do, I guess. But those things will fall into disrepair as well. So the golf report is misleading. It's not correct. It's a bunch of hooey. Don't believe it. And the right to know report doesn't tell us what we expect it to do. They can say what they want about it, but I know for a fact I have requests that are pending with the Office of Open Records, and they don't report them. So they're not as efficient as they claim to be. It's all another game of charades here and smoke and mirrors. Now, the first big thing I talked about was refinancing. That's the number one issue that you want to take from this meeting. The second one is zoning. There's several zoning ordinances that the zoning board came to the board and asked them to make a decision on, and they basically gave it up. They said, "Oh, we're not going to second guess the zoning board. Whatever you guys decide is okay with us." Well, that's not their job. They're supposed to make a ruling on that. They're responsible for making the rules and regulations and ordinances in this township. Now, giving a variance for zoning should be, I would think, a very rare thing. The zoning ordinances are there for a reason. Yet we give variances like handing out M&Ms, you know, and I think that creates a precedent when they do that. So there are 5 things that have to be addressed, 5 criteria that have to be met in order to give a variance to a zoning ordinance. These board of supervisors, I'm sure they don't know what those 5 items are. They never asked a question on any of them. They just said, oh, if you say so, we're going to do it. The problem with this, and I want you to note this for future reference, is that they're setting everything up for the garage mahal, because it was in the paper where the architect said that he thinks he's got a zoning board that's more favorable to what they want to do. They're going to build that garage mahal right where it is. We know that Joe Staub, Casadis, they're big in with the school district. Gaultier will go any way that Joe tells him to go. And Spet is, you know, he's a whip wrist. He'll go wherever they tell him to go as well. So you can guarantee that the zoning board will this year or next year authorize the garage mahal, you know, give them a variance for that, and the board will do nothing after spending all the money in the past to defeat the building of the garage mahal. I think it's an unnecessary cost. It's ridiculous. From what I've heard them say, the old one needs a roof, and that's about it. We could save millions of dollars by doing that, and eventually they'll come to realize that it's more beneficial to contract out these services. But everybody likes their own kingdom, and whoever kingdom has the buses in the garage mahal still wants to be king. But you can see, if you read the responsibilities of a second-class township supervisor, they're supposed to be looking at these zoning variances and determining if it's appropriate or not. But they've basically sidestepped their responsibilities. Watch the video of the meeting and you'll see what I mean. They've been still dragging their feet on Service Electric contract. All they have to do is sign it. They're not going to change anything. They paid a lawyer to review it. I've read the whole thing. It's not that much different than the old one, but what is different is there are no new revenue streams. So we're losing money. Even Spet mumbled about like we could be losing money. Well, we are losing money. So why are they not signing the contract so that we get this revenue? And if they are going to sign a contract, they should make sure that it's retroactive. Retroactive, so we do get those revenues that so far we've been missing. You know, this is a terrible thing, folks. I mean, this is total neglect, negligence, malfeasance even, for these guys to not have taken care of this immediately. They held a special meeting at the library to talk about it. And yet a year later, they haven't done one thing about it. So, but I don't know, the community doesn't seem to care, so why should I care? Well, I care less than I used to, but I'm reporting this information to you. Maybe there's someone out there who will join with me and ask these supervisors, what in the world are they doing? Because they're not telling us any of their plans. It's like hit and miss. They do this, they do that. They want to build a wharf down at the river, which is, and buy some more properties down there. All they want to do is spend our money. While our budget is blown because of COVID, they keep spending. Also, note that the Reading Public Library has opened up, but our library hasn't opened up. The communities around us are now holding their supervisor meetings open to the public. Amity has been doing it for a long time. There are some other ones that are now opening up. You know, you only have 16 to 20 people watching these videos. They're going to use excuses like their audio is an issue. Well, their job is to identify problems and solve them. But that's not what this board does, nor did the last board. As evidence, 2 years before they could eventually adopt a noise ordinance. 2 years before they could adopt anything related to these running out the homes. So it gets worse and worse as time goes on. Also, where is the audited financial statements for 2019? I had to look at the 2018 statements to get my information about the bonds that they want to refinance. But normally, it's required by within 90 days after the end of the year to have financially audited statements of the previous year. So these are due no later than April 1st. We have a finance director that has no experience, basically learning on the job, and it's killing us. She's destroying the financial stability of our township. So no audited financial statements, nothing published in the paper. It's a requirement. If they went in and looked what the responsibilities are, according, I think it's Act 69, they're supposed to providing us with information. We're fighting tooth and nail with the township every time we submit a right to know request. They're just playing with us. And I don't know if you're going to wake up. I hope you do. We'll see what happens. These are my quick and fast comments on the September 14th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting. I hope that it wakes you up. Perhaps you'll look deeper into this, ask questions. These are my opinions, and I hope you'll form your own opinions. Those of you that agree with me, please join me at exeterunited.com and also at my YouTube channel, and watch my opinions on the previous meetings as well. Thank you. Have a good day.